Hello everyone, I am back today with another video, and this is a game I am very excited for. This is actually a ranked game on Strategis against Eagle06. And you can see here he tends to get the better of me. I think he does even better against me in tournament games, but he has over 700 elo and a winning record against me as well. And you might recall that recently he beat me live at the World Championships. He was my loss in round 7. So he's a very tricky player. But today we're going to face off in a ranked game, and you can see this is not an exceptionally conventional setup for me. So this is amounts to trying something new. So I hope it goes well. Obviously, all my pieces are very accessible. He is not a player who I think is going to be prone in any fashion to hitting into any of my high bombs. So I've opted for a strategy kind of to the inverse of that with all my bombs in the back. Of course, a lot of my pieces here are pretty upfront, very accessible. At least in terms of, the kernel, these three majors all here, and then these pieces are a little bit more buried, but there's no bombs in the way. I expect to use all of the pieces that are in front of my general and marshal pretty quickly. Um, so I expect to be able to kind of use all of those pieces whenever I need. So this is very different than the type of closed setup with more high bombs that I've been playing a little bit more recently. So we'll see how this goes. So I've been using a lot of high bombs recently. So we've got captain here. We don't know any other pieces. Um, I do feel like a bluff game does tend to do better against him than trying to be really aggressive because I feel like he plays a cautious bluff game. And if I'm too aggressive with my pieces, wow, it's going to hit my captain there. I feel like if I'm too aggressive with my pieces, um, he's not really going to have the power pieces where I'm expecting. And as a result, I might, go in with some of my powerful pieces if I'm trying to be more aggressive, and I'm not really going to get anything for them because his pieces are going to be a little bit more buried. So I want to try to focus in a little bit more on where his pieces are coming from. We've traded off those captains. He traded those blindly. I'll go ahead and scout that. It is a major. Okay. That's a good find with a front row scout. He also played a front row major against me at the World Championships. Wow, that's very aggressive for him. But I do thankfully have a kernel there. So I'll go ahead and pick that major up. I feel like that's a very aggressive play for him because he normally doesn't do. He normally doesn't rush in with pieces like that. I don't really know him as being a player who plays kind of in that way. But obviously I don't really have. I mean, I kind of have a little bit of defense here. I have the major, but I would prefer. Let's see. This lieutenant and this colonel are known. I might move the major over one because that. Well, mainly because it allows me to access the spy. That would be the main reason. Wow, I'm very interested by the fact that he ran that major in. Not something again that I'm really used to him doing. But let's go ahead and pressure that with the sergeant. Okay, let's hit it. Colonel, perfect. That's another great piece to scout. I'm very happy with that. That makes me think this is probably a little bit more in the captain to lieutenant territory. It might be another major, but I'm willing to risk a captain on it to find out. Okay, so I've kind of got his colonel in a little bit of a situation there where he's going to need to excavate this piece if he wants to move his colonel. I guess I'll move up with the sergeant. That's fine with me. I almost got the sense he was covering this piece a little bit by moving this over, but there's only so much to go off of in that situation, so not totally sure. Um, okay, so once again, this lieutenant is known and this colonel is known. I'm actually going to bring my real general up in this case. I would be shocked if he just runs in front of all these pieces with the marshal. So I think my gen should be in a decent spot um, by being put here. But I've got that major advantage from that side here. I'm gonna hit this with Sergeant. I think it might be a scout. Okay, Sergeant trade, that's fine. I was getting kind of lieutenant vibes from this, but it might just be a scout. That's very possible as well. But I did kind of release his colonel by doing that, but he doesn't even want to, doesn't appear to want to release his colonel, although he's going to do it this way now. So I guess that makes sense. He's going to kind of retreat that piece and kind of make his colonel accessible as a result, because more than likely his colonel can kill this piece based on my chasing of a weak piece. But maybe he'll continue to exercise caution and not move next to it with his colonel. I'm going to come out with this scout and try to bluff his colonel and see how he reacts to that. Simply just up that major right now. I think this is a weak piece. Trying to keep track of kind of some of these that have moved, but I'm not really doing the best job because I'm mainly focusing on the left side here. But I want to keep in mind, I don't think that's moved, but that's the weak piece. These have moved, that's moved. I don't know if that's moved. I'm pretty sure that's moved. It's a little tricky to remember. I probably need to pay, okay, so all these have moved now. Need to pay a little bit closer attention. Okay, so he's going to scout my captain, so that means he actually, oh wow. Okay, so he's very sure of his read here. He was pretty sure that scout was a bluff, and he might scout this, although if this was a good piece, you would figure I'd probably move it over next to his colonel. So he's going to kind of realize based on that this is not a good piece either. But I'm not going to risk a captain by moving over. I think that's too risky because maybe he's bluffing me. Maybe he wants to take it. So he's going to take that scout bluff. He's going to reveal that as a scout. This piece is moving now. I think this is weak. That's a scout. So clearly he would have scouted this if that was a scout. So that makes me think this is probably more lieutenant range, unless he was completely bluffing with that scout altogether, and he never intended to scout that and was just maybe hoping to make me move next to the colonel, and maybe he would take this piece. Either way, I'm going to kind of leave that alone. Again, all these have moved here, so that's just a good thing to keep in mind. All of these have moved. I'm actually going to send out this major that I'm up. I'm going to send a major out into the center. And maybe I'll go down that major that I was up, but I'm just gonna, yeah, captain, amazing pickup, amazing pickup. That's just what I felt like was the right play. Like, okay, I'm up a major. I feel like if I'm him, I expect me to come out with like sergeants, maybe minors, maybe a scout. So I want to put some, weak pieces. I was thinking more lieutenant sergeant range, but maybe captain. Maybe I might hit with lieutenant. So that's why I came up with the major that I did there. I also know this one colonel here, and I've just picked up a captain. I'm going to keep going, and if it's taken, that's fine, but I don't want to have two strong revealed pieces in the center here. So I'm actually going to keep going with that major. I am going to hit that piece. Okay, scout. So that's not too powerful. Okay, wow. I mean, this is going pretty well here. That makes me think this is probably a good piece. I'll go ahead and hit that. Lieutenant, excellent. Okay, and then there's the other colonel. Okay, so I primarily did that with the major because I didn't want to have two revealed pieces that could become targets. I didn't want to take that captain and then run back with the major. I just kind of wanted to give away the info, essentially. But that move with that I believe that was this lieutenant that moved, I believe, up, or maybe it moved over. It may have moved over. That makes me think this is probably a good piece. It could be not a good piece though. In theory, that's still possible. It could just be a bunch of bluffs, and we've just got two colonels here. Okay, I'm gonna hit that. I don't think it's a captain. Okay, lieutenant trade. That's great. That wasn't my known lieutenant. This is my known lieutenant. Hitting that lieutenant may have been better with the major, but I ended up getting a lieutenant over here later on. So if I had hit that scout and lost to a colonel, then I would be like, man, I should have taken the lieutenant. But I got a scout, which not super a lot. Like that's not super important. But then I got a lieutenant and then found the colonel. So I think this could still be a good piece. But I'm not sure. I actually don't remember anymore which piece I said I thought was weak. That my captain was chasing. But if you thought my captain was strong, it's not necessarily weak per se. But maybe it's the marshal or something, and he didn't want my, my low level captain to find it out. So I'm gonna maybe kind of give up that read a little bit. We're just gonna say we know colonel, we know colonel, we know scout. That's obviously a very good sequence for me because I'm up a captain and a lieutenant now, and I have the info advantage. I would trade this colonel off if he wants, but I'll offer it to him and see what he does in response. Okay, it looks like he's gonna trade the colonels. So, oh, okay. Never mind. So he's gonna move next to that piece, which one tells me he thinks it's a bluff, or potentially two, he's telling me this is maybe like the marshal or something like that. But I guess he doesn't want to trade off. Okay. All right, that's fine. I'm not mad about that. That's his right. So we've got Colonel and Colonel. Okay. I was thinking there's a possibility this could be a strong piece right here. I've been not moving this captain yet. Again, there's that Colonel. There's that piece that was there earlier. I'm going to swing this around. I'm going to bury this known lieutenant because it's kind of in the way. I don't want it to be in the way right now. Okay, he's going to move next to me there. That's fine. I'm not really worried about that. I'll just retreat it. Okay, so we've got Colonel here. I don't remember which piece was the one I was saying might be weak, but I know these both came on this side. That was the original piece that I thought might be strong based on how he played that with my major. Oh, I didn't mean to move down. That's the wrong move. Okay, so we have still Colonel here. I assume if I went up, he would prevent me from trading. So Colonel is still here. He's guarding it with a different piece now. And I think all of these have moved. Yeah, all of these have moved. So we've got no front row bombs in this. I mean, maybe this one potentially, but we have Colonel, Scout, Colonel. That was the piece guarding the Colonel I thought might be strong. I think that was one of these two are one of the two pieces that I was, or no, it was these two. It was these two. Um, one of those two I thought might have been a weak piece. So I was chasing my captain earlier, but I don't remember which one. Okay, yeah, that's fine. I'll just run the Colonel back. Not a problem there. Okay, if he scouts my general, that's fine. I mean, I'm not really like pretending like it's a good piece. I don't think. So I'm just kind of leaving it there. Maybe that's unwise. That's a good piece of info if he scouts it, but yeah, so we got Colonel, Colonel. Okay, so now that I kind of got things a little bit out of the way, actually, let's move up with the Sergeant. This is the Colonel still. Okay, that's his Scout. Scout, Colonel. Okay. Well, I'll move this Colonel up anyway. I was gonna move up the Colonel, but then I was kind of curious to see what he's doing here. Um, okay. Okay. This is Colonel. That's the Scout, I believe. I think it's this one that's the Scout. I think he moved it over twice. Ah, I hope I'm remembering that right. Colonel, Colonel, Scout. I think it's this one that's the Scout. And then this one, I guess, would have been the original piece that was guarding it, unless it's this one. Okay, so he's gonna move next to that Sergeant, which is the right call, obviously. Okay, so now he's gonna move another Scout. Okay. I'm gonna avoid that. I don't want to rush in because this piece might be good. I don't really remember what my reads are on some of these. It's moving a lot of pieces. I know Colonel, Colonel, Scout, Scout. That's what I know now. I'll just leave that there. That's fine. Colonel, Colonel, Scout, Scout. Okay. I feel fine about that general being there. I don't think he's gonna rush down with Marshall and just take it. Um, do you feel like there's a reasonable chance this could be decent, but it could be a bomb as well? Not sure exactly what I want to do here. Um, Colonel, Colonel. Let me just hit that. Scout, okay, that's great. Don't mind that at all. I assume that I'll get recaptured here, unless this is a fairly strong piece that doesn't want to reveal itself for a sergeant. Okay, interesting. I will hit that. Captain. Okay. All right, fair enough. Okay. So Colonel, Scout. Okay, this is I don't know if this is a known captain of me, but I will run up with it. Colonel, Scouts, sorry, Colonel, Scout, if I have remembered properly here. Okay, I believe that is a Scout, if I'm not mistaken. And then Captain, and then Colonel, and maybe this hits my Captain, but I think that's the Scout. Okay. We have Captain, Colonel, Scout, Scout, Colonel, Unknown, I believe. I think that's where we're sitting at right now. So I'm going to move this sergeant over, down around. It's not really doing me much good on the left side, so I'm going to go ahead and move it to the center. If he moves down, I will actually... Okay. I'm going to keep that there. That could be a really strong piece, and if he hits that, I'm actually okay with that. Okay. Fair enough. Aha. That makes me think this might be a major, and he may have realized that this captain is around captain strength. I'm going to move here. Okay. Let's go down. I don't think I'm getting major vibes from this. Not after he left it there in front of my colonel. I don't think he could do that with a real... Okay, I'm not sure. My concern is maybe this is a good piece, and if I hit him with the captain, then maybe he takes the colonel, if this is like general or marshal. And I think there's a chance it could be general or marshal. There is a chance. I'm actually going to move over, because I don't think this is a major, because he would have taken this with... He moved next to my captain with this piece, and when my captain didn't take him, then he moved next to me with this piece. Okay, that's a scout, so... Now I feel like I'm really confused overall. Let me just hit this. Okay, that is a major. Okay. That is unexpected. But that's okay. Should I move here then, or is this a marshal or general? Okay, let me go ahead and take that. Oh my gosh, that's the marshal. Wow. Oh man, I should have taken that major with my general. That was clearly the best play. So there was a marshal, or general, but marshal being involved in that sequence. But the way that he did that just, so I thought, I mean, it kind of makes sense that that was the marshal, but based on his moving back there, and then I pursue it, and then he hits with major. And I should have taken that major with my general, so that when anyway, I was assuming this was a free piece, so I would take that first, and then he would be forced to trade, and then I was going to get the major. That's an excellent play to have his marshal there. Very, very aggressive. We have a lot of known pieces at this point, so let's take stock of where we are. We have major, we have marshal, I'm going to move up this major. We have major, marshal, colonel, scout, scout, colonel, captain. This is again the colonel. Okay, so I'm going to hit this, captain. Unfortunately, that makes sense. Probably the wrong piece, because I imagine this is probably a scout. Okay. So that's again the marshal. He's going to have to keep his marshal pretty centralized here. Okay, that's exactly what I figured was going to happen. So now let me come out with this minor. That was a very good play with his marshal in the center. I suspected that there was something like that going on, but the way he played it, I just thought, I don't know, it changed my mind. But it does make sense that if he has colonel and then major, he probably does have his marshal somewhere in that cluster. So it makes sense from that angle. Okay. I'm not in a great spot in this game, because I'm down that colonel that I lost to his marshal, which was not good. That was a very good play. That was aggression at the right time by him. And there's almost a part of me that, again, sensed that something like that was kind of going on, but the way he was playing it made me change my mind. And he's very good at, I guess, what I call mental tricks or mind games like that, where that was, in fact, the marshal. And I should have just taken the guaranteed major rather than getting fancy. Because against most players, the best play is just to take that piece that's sitting on top of his colonel, because the major is dead anyway, presumably. Although I guess you could say it might escape to the left side, but all right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move back with this colonel. This colonel being unknown is a good asset to me. Okay. I do know that is his 6th scout. That piece is unknown. I do not know what it is. This one here, that is. Okay, so now I'm going to prevent this scout from finding out my colonel, which is good. But we have colonel. Yeah, right. Okay. We have colonel. Sorry, that's not the colonel. Scout. Okay, this is colonel. This is captain. Okay, I'll pursue that with my captain happily. Um, Colonel, Captain. Okay, I'll take that. Yeah, that's fine. Get rid of that off the board. So we have here Colonel, Captain, Major, Marshal, Captain, Colonel. So we know both captains. We know the second major of 3. We know both colonels. So we don't know one major and we don't know the general. If he takes that, I'm going to be very impressed. Because again, this colonel has been acting very threatening this whole game, but he's going to put himself in like a good assertive position. He's not going to let me down this column, with a minor or anything like that. Okay, so that's the marshal. So here's the marshal. This is the captain. This is a captain. This is a colonel right here. He might even read that this is a major based on how I'm playing this. Okay, so that's the marshal. I'm going to come up with this minor. That's a captain. Okay. I'm going to move this captain, which is known. I'm going to put it back there. Okay, this again is his colonel. So I'm going to move this major, and he's going to avoid it, obviously. Okay, once again, captain, colonel, major. Want to keep a lookout potentially, um, for a good opportunity to use my general. Okay, so captain, captain, colonel, major, colonel, marshal. So this here is the captain, I believe. So I will gladly take that piece, and then I guess we'll probably trade off those majors, I would assume. So that's a little bit of a confusing move to me. I'm not sure why he would give me a captain like that, but he may have felt a little bit um, overwhelmed, for lack of a better word. Maybe just with all the exposed pieces he has, so he figured he would maybe use one to try to get some info. But that's very reasonable, I would say. So I'm going to move here, and I might actually use this scout on this piece, because it's coming from a very unlikely position. So let's do this. Yeah, he's not going to let me. It's a bit unfortunate. Normally I would like to put this scout here, but the only problem is that his marshal then might move between the two of these, and then I'd have to give him a free scout. So it's a little bit of a trap you might fall into. Um, so not now if I move away and yeah, again, then the marshal comes out. So that's not really useful for me. Okay, well let's activate our plan. It's probably a weak piece, but given where it came from, I was just a little skeptical of it. But we have, of course, colonel, major, marshal. It's probably weak. Yeah, sergeant. Okay, so that was a waste, but it is what it is. And once again, we have the major here, colonel, sergeant. He knows this Does he know this lieutenant? I, th I don't know if he does, but I think he knows that it's weak. I think he knows that it can't take out his captain, because I think it started front row here. But obviously, I'm going to take that. I'm going to take that sergeant if he gives me the opportunity to do that. We have here sergeant, major, colonel. So that's major, that's colonel. Okay, so he's going to not even care, which is kind of valid, I guess. Okay. Okay, now here comes the colonel here. Okay, now the sergeant's moving back. So this is the colonel. That's the major. We have colonel, major, sergeant. Okay, I'm going to put that piece there. That's the colonel. This lieutenant here, I'm going to tuck back behind. That's the colonel, major, sergeant. Colonel, major, sergeant. So that's the major here. Need to be mindful of my time clock here. I'm going to get this scout active here. My next play that I want to do is move my colonel here and take out this piece. I'm assuming it's not the general. We have colonel, major, sergeant. Okay, now let's activate this plan. I did these moves. Okay, minor works for me. I did these moves so that he would feel fearful of pursuing on this side with the colonel once he discovers this is my colonel. That I would have enough pieces accessible to prevent him from doing anything. So he's going to scout my last major. So again, we have here sergeant, major, colonel, unknown piece. This is a captain. That again is a major. I almost moved here, which I think would be a bad mistake because that could be the general in theory. So let's see what he does if I move this minor down. Does he follow it? Okay, now that's the sergeant, I'm pretty sure. We have major. Okay, now the major's being back. He's doing a lot of shuffling in this game. It's hard to keep track of these pieces. Okay, that's the sergeant. That's the colonel. Okay, the colonel's now coming around. But I don't think he's going to want to trade. Okay, that's the sergeant, I'm pretty sure. Okay. We have colonel, major. Okay, I'll take that sergeant. Happily get one of those sergeants back. That is, of course, his major now. Okay, I'll give him one of those. Okay, that's a great read. Um, that he realizes that my strong pieces are. He's beginning to get a sense of where my strong pieces are. And I think he reads this as one of my strong pieces. So I'm gonna have to give him a lieutenant back there. I'm only up now one captain to that colonel, and I'm down two sergeants as well, which is not ideal. So let's see if he'll trade off these colonels. All right. I don't really love that trading fest, but he's done well. I think he's read my general, and that's what allowed him to come through with his major like that. Also, I just realized he actually knew my major, so that was no risk at all. I actually thought my major was unknown, but he scouted it. That was a foolish mistake. I was hoping that maybe he would think my major, there was a chance of it being the general or the um, marshal, but I forgot he scouted the major. So that was stupid. I should have moved the general over, although it would have let his marshal in, but then I could move down and he's got to respect these pieces. That was not very good play. To give him that lieutenant. That lieutenant was a little bit more important than I believed it to be. Okay. So he's still going to prevent me from discovering any of these pieces here. I almost feel like this might be his general. I don't think that's the gen. Okay. He definitely has the upper hand in this game right now. This is probably a weak piece that's going to discover my gen, but I'm going to be able to ward it off with that miner, it looks like. Okay. Okay, now that's his colonel that's coming down here. That's, of course, the marshal. I think that scout was keeping the marshal at bay, so that's maybe a little bit unfortunate. All right, so we have unknown piece that was scared of my miner. Then we have colonel. Then we have this other piece here that came from here, and I think this could be the gen. I need to get this captain to this other side. I don't like it sitting out here isolated. So I'm gonna go ahead and move it. I'm gonna move it across here. Okay, so he's gonna come down with his marshal to trap this piece. So to me, it makes it seem like he thinks this is a strong piece here. Yeah, I'll go ahead and let him capture that. Major, I assume? Lieutenant, okay. Let's go ahead and scout that. That's a bomb. Okay. So I think he knows this is my general at this point, and I'm going to need to get a piece back, so let's pick this one up. That's the colonel. Okay, lieutenant, that's not bad. That's not bad. So we've got the colonel here. We have this unknown piece that I think is probably sergeant. And then we have a bomb here, and then we have lieutenant. I really want to hit this piece. General, exactly what I thought. Perfect. That's obviously a huge risk because that might be a bomb, but I read that as general, and so once I know I read it as general. Yeah, that was I'm very pleased with that read. Once I was able to reveal the general, then I could get that off the board. So I'm pretty happy with that. This piece here, again, I suspect is probably near. I was thinking it was probably a sergeant. But we have the colonel, which is known, the major, which is unknown. And I hope it's not this piece, because I might move this lieutenant up to stop it. Although it might be better to move this lieutenant, which is already moved, up to stop it. Okay, so that is obviously the colonel. This here obviously being the marshal. I don't know where his major is, and that's going to be a big challenge here. Okay, I'll move up there. I do have all his captains, which is very good for me. Okay, so now the marshal is coming over to the left side of the board. Unless I'm forgetting these pieces. Okay, I thought this was the marshal. Okay, this definitely has to be the marshal. There's no way his marshal is sitting here right now. I think I mixed those up. That makes absolutely no sense to be the marshal. Oh my word, that's a really annoying miner. Two bombs is really frustrating, and I don't even get to capture the miner either. So it's a good thing I didn't just move up on this piece. Once it's a good thing I didn't move up on that piece once I thought, oh, the marshal's moving over because I mixed them up. And I don't know how I did that, but I certainly did mix them up. So that's the lieutenant. It's the marshal. Lieutenant, marshal, colonel. So I don't have much time, but let's take a little quick review here. I am down the colonel, I'm up a captain, up a lieutenant, down two sergeants. I'm up a scout, but he found those two bombs. And I'm really bummed about that. That miner was really not good. Uh, not a great sequence. Yeah. So we have here marshal, colonel, of course lieutenant. So I'll go ahead and bring this lieutenant over. If we trade that off, that's fine, I think, for the most part. Not really worried about that sort of trade, I don't think. I don't think that should bother me too much. Guess I'll move next to it. Maybe he hits. Nope, okay. I think he knows this major for sure. Okay. So we've got a spy and a major primarily for him that are not known. So Those are kind of my question marks here, because I know the last lieutenant, and I also know the marshal, the colonel, all those things. So now this is the colonel coming down here. And just in case I think this minor moved next to his other colonel earlier, so just in case I wanted to be able to move this minor over as like the marshal. A bluff, essentially. If he strikes at the right time with his major, he might be able to do some damage here, so I've just got to be careful. Like if he's able to, say, target or pressure my major in an effective way with his colonel and kind of isolate that, where maybe he can trap my major with his marshal and his colonel. If he finds out my marshal, then he can kind of go on a rampage with his major at that point. Because I'm relying on the fact that I'm up these two pieces, and again, this could be anything here, so I've got to be careful. Okay. Okay. Trading majors off is definitely to my benefit right now. Okay. I want to be able to move my major to track with this piece. There is probably about 90 moves until this game is drawn for the reason of having no capture. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. 75 now. So we have Marshal, Colonel, maybe Major, although he could just be totally bluffing me. I have no idea. Marshal, Colonel. Okay, there's the Lieutenant. And there's the maybe Major, I guess I'll call it right here. I don't really know, but I think that makes sense. Okay, that's again the Lieutenant, so I'm not super worried about that. Here's another piece moving. Okay, so he's going to make me decide which one I think the major is. He's going to try to advance them down on the two columns here, and I'm running short on time, so this is a bit tricky. We have the Marshal, Colonel, the Lieutenant, and then we have these two pieces here. Okay, so this is the Colonel then. Okay, he's running to this side. Interesting. Okay. This is the lieutenant here. This game might potentially draw, I'm not sure. Okay. I don't think he's going to have enough moves to come down with this kernel here. Yeah, he's not going to have enough moves. I think we're going to have a draw. Yep, it's going to be a draw. Unless he wants to sacrifice a piece, no. And I'm happy with the draw in that case. Well, there you have it. This game will end in a draw, essentially by agreement, because neither player felt comfortable making any advances. And I do not mind that. Eagle's an exceptional player. I was up the captain and the lieutenant, yes, but I was down the colonel. Yes, I had the info advantage, but I'm also down those 2 sergeants, and that's going to make things really difficult. Eagle is, again, a very, very good player. So that's going to put our count to 2 draws, and I will gain 1.7 points, which brings me exactly to 650. Well, that was a very good game. I had a very good start, and he had an excellent mid game, but I was able to hold on just strongly enough for a draw. So I'll go ahead and leave it there. I hope you guys enjoyed this matchup, essentially a draw by agreement, and I'll see you guys in the next video.